YouTube. So this video today, I want to have a chat with you guys all about my experiences of working for the church in my local area. Now, so feel free to suggest topics. I always try and keep a list of topics in my head, on my notes app, and anything that comes up interesting, I think, oh, I'll talk about that. And this one I didn't have wrote down, but I saw a post from somebody the other day on the garden. I think it's a garden maintenance group. And basically he was asking that he's been approached by a church or a parish council. And, a church, no mention of parish council. And he's been asked to provide maintenance for a graveyard. And the comments all were, well, not all of them, there's a few, but it was basically the same problems that I had when I did maintenance for a church. And as we get going along, all of them you'll sort of see, and you'll see the frustration behind them. Now, this video is mostly going to be I did have a negative experience. I'm going to try and give you all the facts, not just a a one-sided thing. So if I've done something wrong, you'll probably pick up. I don't think I have. It's just the due process, how it was all handled, and the faff that was involved. It's just all added up that so much that if they approached me again under a different sort of guise, under different leadership, I still wouldn't entertain it. It's just not something that I want to do. And I will talk about what was mentioned in the post at the end of the video. And also my findings on it, basically. So, also making a guest appearance in this is Brenda. So I mentioned Brenda in a previous video. I did a whole video about basically a lady that was my boss. And she was running my business for a while. She was recommending me to her friends, oh, Sam will do this, Sam will do that, this much you'll do it for. She was subbing me out, basically. But watch a video, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's something like, someone was running my business, something like that, but you'll find it. And, so this guy, so changing the names, there's a guy called Charlie, and I'll change his name. And he approached me. So he's one of Brenda's friends, and Charlie approached me to come and do some maintenance at a building that he looked. How we introduced it was he was the guardian of a building that was owned by the church. I said, yeah, no problem. He says, it'll be good for you. He says, it'll provide, he says it's going to lead to a maintenance contract. And he says, we also have other buildings, so there'll be work there for you. I thought, yeah, brilliant. And as I said, this happened a few years ago now, so it was probably the start of my business or year 2 of my business. So, yeah, I went in and he says, give me some time and I'll have a word with the committee and we'll get you to go and do the quote. Yep, no problem, brilliant. So I went and I left it for a while. And I never heard anything off him. Then, out of the blue, I had a phone call. This is the location. Could you come and meet me there such a time and come and give us a quote? Yep, no problem. Went up there and it was just a building, basically. And it was straightforward. But the thing that got me over the telephone was I've managed to negotiate you a couple of hours for £40. So again, he's still working off Brenda's hourly rate here. And this is the thing, it's one person running my business, it leaches into everything. Surely he must have thought there might be a different rate for this, there's waste involved, it's a different type of work. No, it's that, Brenda, old love, would have been like, oh yeah, he can do it at this much, it'll be this much. Anyway, so I stopped him there and I says, well, look, Charlie, I says, I'm going to have to quote. I says, I can't work off that rate. I says, I'll need to see it before I can give a quote on it. So that's why we ended up meeting. I walked around and I says, yep, no problem. I'll get a quote over to you. He says, yep, the quote needs to be in writing. I says, that's fine. That's standard policy. He says, drop us a quote. Now, I won't mention, I'll go into detail on the whole process of quoting. I don't know if this is across the board or it's just this organisation, or even just the region where I live in. But everything was paper-based. There was no email. Everything was paper-based. I had to drop everything to his house. So he lived about 15 minutes away. And it was like snail mail. So if I dropped a quote, I had to write the quote, print the quote, drop it off at his house, wait for a response. And it just, the whole process took ages. That's the only way I can describe it. It took an absolute age to get done, to get a resolution, to get it sorted. So anyway, did the quote. About a month went by. I had a couple of phone calls in between. It's going to the committee, it's going to the committee. I thought maybe they're putting it out to tender. No idea. But anyway, I had a phone call and he said, yeah, we've accepted your quote. And I don't like talking about money, but I will mention it for this. So the price of the work for the first visit was £150. So that was hedge, lawns, shrubs, bit of border work. Anyway, it come to £150, just to sort of set the scene for you. He accepted that. He did say, he says, didn't think it would take you all day. So he's still trying to work it into an hourly figure. But anyway, as for that's the price, that is what it is. So, did the quote. And then in the end, it took him about a month. So obviously there's a month worth of growth on top of what was quoted. Anyway, it is what it is. I just thought, well, I'll note for next time. So, done the work, fine, no problem with the work, no problem with the quality. He come, looked at it, signed it off, no problem. He says, right, you need to put an invoice in. He says, yep, that's no problem at all. Again, paper-based. He says, go into as much detail as you can on the invoice. I'm thinking, okay then. So, I put, first visit, whatever, grass cuts, all this, hedges, shrubs, borders, Anyway, bounce back to me. This is all letter-based as well. I had another phone call after like 2 weeks. We need more detail on the quote. Sorry, on the invoice. I said, well, how much more do you need? He says, well, everything. Did you use the blower or did you sweep? I says, well, both. He says, well, you need to put you swept and used a blower. I said, okay. He says, did you pull weeds out the path? I says, well, yeah. So you need to say pull weeds out the path. How many times did you mow the lawn? Did you trim it first or did you mow it? I said, well, it was trimmed first, so you need to put trimmed first. Did you mow it twice or once to get the cut? So it was mowed twice. So it was stuff like that, and it ended up being like literally a blow-by-blow account, about a page and a half. It was ridiculous at this point. Weirdly enough, there was no I thought he was doing it to try and work out time, and then he would fire it back at me. But there was no mention of time. He never said, oh, I thought he was going to say, Luke, put when you started and when you finished. No mention of it. But it had to be in super detail. Right, that's no problem. Put the other quote in. Again, dropping it off to his house. And about another week went by. And he said, yeah, we've accepted the invoice. Sorry, not the quote. We've accepted the invoice. What we need is you need to send a request for the money with your invoice. I'm thinking, okay, I've never had this before. So basically, I'm asking them for the sum of 150. I thought, okay, that's fine. That must be what it is. But part of me thinks, well, has he lost my invoice? Because he's asking for another invoice. So again, printed it off. And as I said, I'm trying to drum in how long it took. Took a letter, and it must be where he has to read it or it goes to the committee. It took weeks. So anyway, did that. And in the end, it got paid. Did a little request for money. But the first time he paid me, he says, we'll need a receipt for the money. I said, yeah, no problem. So as soon as it hits my bank, he says, brilliant, just get that sent over to us, no problem. And did that. So in starting to finishing, it took about 2 months from quoting to getting, about a bit more than 2 months probably 2.5 months from quoting, doing the job to getting paid. Now, this is when I was first started, and I thought, well, if this is a regular thing and it's going to be a regular maintenance thing at this place, well, I could put, it's one of them where I could do and I'll get paid eventually. Hey, it's a church, you're not going to not pay, are you? Anyway, so he said about this maintenance contract, never happened. About another month went by, phone call out of the blue. Hi Sam, could you come and do a quote for the other side of the property? I was like, okay. I didn't know there was other side, but it's a big property and it's over a few levels. So the front that I done, I thought it was just like a little bungalow thing. Well, it wasn't. It was joined on to a much bigger property. So anyway, so did this, did all the work, and this time round the bill come to 300. I'm trying to summarize it because it's the same process. Quote, literally 2 or 3 weeks went by. It's been put in front of the committee. Fine. We'll let you know when you can commence work. All this, all letter based, trips to his house. 15-minute, half an hour round trip, dropping all these bloody letters off. So again, quote. He never asked. It's weird. He never asked for detail on a quote. It was only the invoice he asked for all the detail. So again, did the work, no problem. He come down, said, "Yep, brilliant. Put your invoice in." So again, another essay. Like this one was 2 pages because there was so much that needed doing there, and it was ridiculous because he wanted everything. Now I had a phone call out of the blue after the invoice had been put in. Phone call out of the blue. Hi Sam. So, I don't know. I'll make a name up. Joe Bloggs has been down from the committee, and he said that there's a few things that you've missed off from that need doing. And I'm thinking, well, everything's been under the quote. You've had 2 pages of what was done. So I went down, and oh my god, it was the daffodils need deadheading, and the rose bushes need deadheading. I'm thinking, bloody hell. Considering where this place was at the beginning to where it ended up being, I was thinking, you really are pulling at straws here. But I did it, literally did it. About another week went by. Hi Sam, David's just been down. He's not very happy. The grass is really long. He says it doesn't look like it's being cut. I says, Charlie, I says, me and you walked around a day after I'd done it. I says, you could see that the grass had been done. Oh, well, he says you haven't cut it short enough. Is there any chance you can come and do it, just rectify it for us? Now, I put the bill in, so this second visit was £350. Again, trying to set the scene for you. So, yes. So I said, okay, keeping the peace, no problem. Did that, and then he says, right, said, I've passed your invoice on to the cashier. Could you send through a receipt of purchase, because we've given the green a request for the money. So again, he wanted me asking the money. No problem, that's no problem. Did that. He says, we'll get your check to you. So he gave me the check, and he says, could you send a receipt of payment, please? I says, well, yeah. I says, when I get it banked and it's hit me a card, I will. He says, no, we need it tonight. I says, but I said, the check won't be in my account. I says, I won't even get it to the post office today. I says, never mind it clearing my account. He says, well, he said, we need it in tonight. I says, I'm not sending receipt for payment when I've not been paid. I says, I've got the check, which, doubtedly, but I need it to hit my account and then I will. Maybe I was being a bit too cautious, but don't get me wrong, I don't think for a minute they were going to cancel the check. And then I would have said, well, I've received the money, but then it just didn't sit well with me and I couldn't understand it. He said, oh, okay, well, if you must, we'll get it to us next week. So he backed down pretty quick after I stood my ground. So anyway, that was the whole sort of saga. Went quiet. Again, another month went by. I'd spoken to him because I'd seen him at Old Love Brenda's house for a couple of times. I saw him there, but I says to him, I said, I did give him a little bit of a nudge. Any more progress on the maintenance? Oh, it's going to the committee. So I had a text message off him actually. Now, this was important. So I had a text message out of the blue. He says, Sam, it was something like this. It was something like, Sam, the committee members are saying that the place is looking a mess. Please, can you rectify this? Everywhere needs a good tidying up. Just do, I'm trying to put it how he put it, so I'm not getting confused. His exact, how his wording was it needs a damn good tidy up, according to the committee. So give it a damn good tidy up and drop your invoice in to the office. Now, I'm like, well, where's the office, Charlie? He says, the office is where I'd been working in my town. But he has been having me traipsing all the way to his fucking house to give him invoices, quotes, paperwork. So it was the most convoluted thing. I didn't know this. It didn't look like an office. There was no sign saying office of such and such. He never met. It had always been, I need to have it. So I was literally, all this paperwork, I was rushing around. And I can laugh about it now. I was traipsing all the way to his house, you know, getting stuck in traffic on the way that, oh, nightmare, when I could have just drove. Maybe I should have asked him, but this was how he said from the very beginning, drop the paperwork off at my house. But that's not what I'm moaning about. So I went and did the work, and as I said, I gave it a damn good tidy up. No mention of the price, no mention of quoting, just invoicing. So I invoiced. Now, bearing in mind the first visit was 150. This was now coming on for 3 months. The second visit was again coming on for about a month and a half, you know, timeline. So it indeed was a mess, and it indeed need to be rectified, as he put it. So I went and gave a good tidy up, and I put the bill in, and the bill was for £150. I put the invoice in, and that was it. Put it through the office door, which was, you know, never knew about. But anyway, put the invoice in, nothing. 2-3 weeks went by, nothing. Spoke to old love Brenda. I said, oh, have you seen much of Charlie? Because I'd rung a couple of times and it had just went straight through. Oh, yes, he's gone to America for a month. Oh, thanks for telling me. Anyway, and I did wonder, why is he having it through the office now opposed to... Anyway, so about 3 weeks went by, and I had a text message at the middle of the night. So he was either still in the States or he was back, and he just wanted to text at that time. I presume he was still away. And it was, you know, I had a text, and I keep my phone on a bedside cabinet, and I could just see Charlie, and I could see Sam, and I'm thinking, shit, and it was a big paragraph, and it was Sam, the treasurer has rung me up, and we're all disgusted at the price you've put in, and then he's put in brackets, absolutely disgusted, in all caps, at the price you've put in. I don't know what sort of organisation you think we are. We haven't got the funds to pay this, frankly, outrageous bill that you have put in. Like, basically, yeah, try and make out. What part of Just Do the Grass did you not understand? So this was at like 12 o'clock in the night, and you know when you have that tech, it woke me up straight away. I thought, fucking hell, what have I done? So I looked through it, and yeah, it just read it again, and I thought, bloody hell, you know, he's thinking I'm trying it on here. And I looked through the message, and it was the message beforehand. Committee member had been down, gave it a damn good tidy up. No mention of just a lawn, no mention of, you know, do it cheap, no mention of nothing. Just give everywhere a damn good tidy up. And that was the wording, everywhere, a damn good tidy up. I said, so I fired one straight back. I said, Charlie, I said, as per your instruction, which, and I put in air quotes, give the place a damn good tidy up. And also, again, from here, drop the invoice into the office. I did as instructed. I says there was no mention of quoting. I said, in reflection to work that had been done previously. So the combined, because I did the 2 properties, not just the one. The 2 properties I did for 150, when originally it was 500. I thought that was a fair price. He says, Sam, you clearly getting misunderstood with what I said. I did tell you to just do the lawn. So I went further up the page and made sure I screenshotted the message with the give it a go, good tidy up, and the message after, so he can't see that there's no other one in between. And I highlighted it on the Apple thing with a line underneath, sent that back to him. I says, Charlie, I says, I followed your instructions. I says, I'd done as asked. I says, there was no mention of grass. No, because he also said about, I asked for a quickie job. I'm thinking, he didn't. Maybe that's a euphemism, I don't know. And then he fired back. He said, Sam, I've been trying to coach and mentor your business now. I think we need to you're clearly not getting the lesson. I'm thinking, he's put something like, you should have read the situation of what I wanted was a favour to the church. You clearly have not been listening to anything I've been saying. We need to have a talk about this face to face when I get back. And I was just fucked right off. This was like 1:30 at night, because he took like an hour in between to reply. So it's like 1:30, 2:30. I was just pissed, really wound up. A favour to the church. And I'm thinking, and it was only when he said that, and actually now I'm thinking about it even more, the whole way through, they just took advantage and just took the piss, basically. So, I never went and met him face to face. I didn't want to see him, if I'm being honest with you. I didn't want to hear the patronising sort of tones in his thingy, you know, trying to mentor my business. I did give him a call, and basically he says that we can't afford to pay the 150. He says, I'm going to have to take it out of my pension to pay you for this, which I'm not happy about. And, you know, really trying it on. I just says to him, Luke Chart, he says, there's more work that needs doing, so we're going to have a word about pricing and make it explicitly clear at the start. I thought, you fucking got Bob open me doing anything ever again. So I just said to him on the phone, I said, Charlie, I says, we're not going to carry this conversation on, because you said one thing on text, you've said the opposite now over voice. I says, I'm not going to get into argument with you. I said, I'm not going to fall out with you. I says, this £150, consider it my donation to the church. I says, and therefore the business is closed. I said, we won't be working together in the future. Oh, no. What I'll do is I'll send you over, I will pay you out of my own pension, the £50. I says, well, it was 150. I says, and I don't want you doing that. I says, just take it as this is my donation to the church, which is obviously short of money, but you've had some free labour. And I think that's what they wanted all along. So that was it. Now, the weirdest thing is, I thought that was case closed. The weirdest thing that has happened, actually, was I was doing a gardening job, and literally I was doing this gardening job in the middle of like nowhere comparatively. I was trimming this verge, and I had a tap on the shoulder. I turned around, and it was an elderly lady. She says, are you Sam? I says, yeah. Give me a letter. And I'm thinking, fucking hell. You know, when you see in the States where these people get served papers, I thought, what's happened? You know, am I getting served? And he opened it up, and it was a cheque. And no idea who this woman was, whether he wasn't in the car because she was on her own. But it was a cheque for £50. Was it from him? No, it was from the church. And I just couldn't believe it. So I did get a little bit of money. You might be screaming and thinking, well, why didn't you get your form? Look, I'm not going to go up against a committee where he's clearly in amongst it. My word against theirs. People might say about court. I'm not going to go doing that for 150, pissing off a community, a committee full of, like-minded people in my area, sleeping dogs lying, all that. So my experiences as well, I've seen mirrored from other people a lot. Other people just see the church as they just want volunteers, free labour. that's not just me, that's what I saw on the post. People warning this chap, Luke, they want you to do something for nothing. Now, as I say, I'm not trying to put you off, but I've seen a lot of other things. Like anything, do your due diligence and cover yourself. So I'm going to wrap this up now. It has banged on a bit too long, but this is just another story, another thing in my life, my gardening journey. Have a good day, guys. Keep on gardening.